Hi, my name is Colleen Laughlin. I'm doing my Comms 101 Persuasive Speech for Liberty University. Today I'm going to be talking about sex trafficking, specifically sex trafficking in America and the issue that it has. I'm going to be looking at the issue overall, but I'm going to also just be focusing on, even though it is a huge global problem, I'm going to be focusing on the issue it is in America, the importance of being aware of it, and the importance of changing our perspective for the women that are enslaved in it, and the importance of, especially as Christians, it's just changing our perspective. Obviously, as human beings, we have denounced slavery, and especially in America, we have realized that it is a huge crime, but even more than that, as Christians, we realize what value a life has, what value that Jesus gave his life so that we could have ours and shouldn't be enslaved by anything. So really just changing our perspective to really wanting to overcome this evil with the good that we have been given in freedom in America and in Christ. So I'm going to be looking at this issue specifically in America. A lot of the American perspective towards human trafficking, especially sex trafficking, would be in street corners, like the prostitution is often what we would associate with it. And we often have, obviously there's already a negative connotation there, but we have kind of a judgmental connotation towards that. We think we know everything about that prostitute. We think, she's in that for the money, she thinks that that's what she wants to do, and we just think, kind of like push her down because of it. Often, though, that we don't realize the psychology behind sex trafficking, especially in that street prostitution kind of place. We don't realize that actually the pimps really do hold a lot onto the woman. If she's not being abused, if she's not being beaten into submitting into prostituting herself, there is often even a level of pimps have learned that they can just offer a lot of seemingly love to that woman and get her to do a lot, because the huge case of these runaways, of these prostitutes, is that they are runaways, and the average entry age industry prostitution is from 12 years old to 14 years old. So often very impressionable young women that are leaving already a difficult circumstance. And there have been girls though, that are as young as 9 years old entering into this. And there are 300,000 kids in the U.S. right now that are considered at risk for this problem. It is a huge money-making industry. Just the amount of money that a woman can make, even in one night alone, from a man, shows that the greed that really just spurs this on to being one of the hugest money-making industries worldwide. And it's really a huge problem. Obviously, we just know what a horrid thing this is, that a woman is being used for these reasons. But in America especially, it can also be from any places from, like, massage parlors, sweatshops, brothels themselves, even families that are prostituting their own children on the internet, or having people come to their homes. It is a very broad industry as well. And another huge aspect of it that we don't always realize is what the global amount of trafficking that it brings in, especially for events like the Super Bowl. There are a lot of people being brought in for that, specifically just for sex trafficking for that event. And especially in massage parlors as well, there are just a lot of cases of really kind of fishy things that they'll also offer you if you know the right terminology, and that sort of thing. It's just a really big issue in America that we need to kind of realize goes beyond street prostitution and goes beyond our perspective of it. That brings me to my next point, which is also on kind of the danger of having our own judgmental perspective for this whole thing of prostitution, because we often, like I said, have that judgmental perspective towards it, but there's power in changing our perspective towards that, because our perspective doesn't really need to be pushing that woman down any lower when she's already really at her lowest point. Obviously, our perspective needs to be that we should be, as Christians, empowering and loving that woman and helping her get out of it. And that's been the biggest issue with it. One judge talks about the case in one of the articles I read, and he talks about that he kept issuing this woman jail time for her prostitution, and she kept going right back right after her jail time. And he was realizing, and he finally made the statement, I don't think that she's in this for herself. and I don't think that she's just doing this, for those reasons. And so he stopped giving her jail time and he started giving her social services, and he realized that that was really what made the impact, is that she started getting help, that he didn't keep casting her out, just to go right back to that. And our perspective is just a really important thing to change towards this, to really have more compassion towards the women that are in this. Often they don't seem like they need help, but they do. And the solution to this is really, my next point, the solution has really been found in having awareness and calling in the National Human Trafficking Hotline when you see something fishy, being aware of different circumstances that just seem like they're not quite right, and also just having like a more compassionate tactic, as in the country of Sweden. It has reduced its prostitution by 80% since 1999, just because it decriminalized the entire issue of the woman, and it started criminalizing the men, the Johns that were using them, and the pimps that were actually putting them out on the streets. They started giving jail time for those men and started giving just help for the woman and giving them a ways out of it. And they've seen now that they have 200 to 400 people get trafficked in for sex into their country every year, where Finland next to them gets up to 15,000 and where the United States gets up to 17,000. It has obviously been shown that this is a really just big tactic to take in, to really just look into helping the woman rather than suppressing them deeper into it. So those are my main points. I just think this is such an important thing to be aware of, and to, as Christians especially, but as people, just to care for others, and just to take that into these people that are being really used for the wrong reasons. And so that's my topic for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you were able to learn something from it. Thank you very much.